And Buffalo Bills Day 10 training camp update coming right up on today's edition of the Dom Mafia Report. Yo ho ho, Dom Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. And yes, you'll probably notice a different room since your boy has been living like a gypsy for the past 9 months. You've seen me switch up the venues quite a bit, but I'm happy to announce that this is the final venue that I am having. And have no fear, ladies and gentlemen, this back wall is in the process of being completely decorated with every single one of my Buffalo Bills belongings, making for a sexy ass background for you guys to watch for the remainder of my videos for this season and all upcoming seasons afterwards. Very excited for this, without a doubt. And so yeah, Dom Mafia, the 10th day of training camp finally just ended up finishing up, and there are a couple of storylines that I did want us to go on ahead and sort of touch on, if you will. Before we do that though, I do want to go on ahead and I do want to give just a couple of announcements. Number one, so many of you always ask me, Dan, how can I support your channel? I really love what you have going on. Well, hands down, the easiest thing you can do is simply smash the ever-living out of that like button. But say you ever want to go the extra mile, Patreon is the way to do it. And you can find that link in my description. I give away a bunch of super cool benefits, such as you having the ability to come onto my live streams and talk Buffalo Bills. Maybe you even want to talk to TD Finns Talk while I have AFC East Roundtable on my channel. You are more than welcome to do that if you are a Patreon member, amongst other super cool benefits. If that's your cup of tea, go on ahead. Like I said, link is in the description. And if not, I'm just thankful that you guys watch my content on a regular basis. Besides that, let's go on ahead and dive into the specifics. So first storyline is always going to be the injury report that happened, and let's just put it this way, it was pretty damn lengthy when it came down to it. It looks like Stefon Diggs was out resting with a knee injury. Linebacker Matt Milano was out with a mouth injury, a little sus if you ask me. Offensive guard John Feliciano was out with a non-COVID illness, same thing with Tommy Doyle. Vernon Butler was out with a concussion, Forrest Lamp with a calf injury, and then Christian Wade with a shoulder injury. Now, it wasn't even this entire list. There was also a couple of other players that had to leave because it was just so hot in Orchard Park today. While practice was going on, it was in the low 90s, and players such as Tre'Davious White and Matt Milano ended up leaving due to the heat. Now, if you don't understand how hot it must have been for Trey White to leave, who is from Louisiana, if I might add, you can only imagine how hot it was out there during the training facility. And so being from Buffalo, and y'all being from Buffalo, you know that these days are few and far between. Apparently the entire coaching staff was out there consistently giving a bunch of wet towels, water breaks, and really making sure that our guys stayed as healthy as damn possible. But luckily, since we are in Buffalo, New York, I don't anticipate seeing many more days like this during the remainder of the season. His next storyline, since Stefon Diggs was not able to practice today due to an injury, in my opinion, I just think it had to do with him resting up. He was still seen on the sideline. He was still coaching up several younger receivers at the end of the day. So without a doubt, there's no need to worry. He's not aggravated or anything along those lines. He's still very much involved with the Buffalo Bills training camp process. And the story that ended up coming out of training camp today is hands down with Emmanuel Sanders gaining that chemistry with Josh Allen. With Stefon Diggs out, it seemed like Josh Allen was going on ahead and he was really targeting Emmanuel Sanders and often. And this is very important, especially since Emmanuel Sanders is John Brown's replacement this year going into 2021. Sanders has some pretty big shoes to fill as far as a potential wide receiver 3 going into the 2021 season. So that's always something that you do want to see from your quarterback and from Emmanuel Sanders. Now, granted, according to reports, Josh Allen is essentially having an elite training camp. So, like many great quarterbacks, they make receivers look amazing, but in this case, I will take the story as is, and I'm going to go on ahead and say that chemistry is already being completely devout between the two. And so final storylines are going to be a couple of pieces coming from our defensive line. Starting off most notably, the guy who opted out in 2020, Star Lutulele, apparently ended up having an amazing practice today, really having his way with our offensive line, which is always something that you want to see. Star Lotulelei in 2019 was the guy that ended up taking a lot of double teams due to his speed and his overall power, and he was putting that on full display, essentially knocking some offensive linemen on their damn ass. It's definitely nice to see that he's coming back strong as ever, and definitely being that guy that we ended up bringing in and signing on a pretty significant contract. Not only with him being able to take those double teams, I also anticipate to see improvements in our run game, and I also expect to see massive improvements in our overall pass rush as well, so our defensive ends and perhaps even Ed Oliver would be able to go on ahead and start making those splash plays and getting in quarterbacks' faces. I am more than happy to see that Star Lotulelei is coming back. He doesn't seem like he lost a step whatsoever, and we're going to have our defensive line and pass rush back, baby, and we cannot wait. Second thing coming out of the defensive line is somebody that I forgot to mention, I think, my last video. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but I put out a segment on who's going to be the defensive end left out, and I completely forgot to even mention a dude who, in my opinion, is probably going to make this team due to the performance that he has been putting out during training camp, and that is Efe Obada. Now, many of you know that he comes from the exact same expansion program as Christian Wade, essentially welcoming players from outside markets into coming into the league. He is one of the few success stories of actually making an impact on a team and making a roster. However, he doesn't want that stigma. In fact, he had this to say.
I was okay with it because I really didn't know anything about the sport, so I did fall under that category. But as you know, as the years keep adding on, and then as I'm applying myself and going and making my sacrifices in order to close that gap, I definitely want to be known as just a player now. I don't really want to be known as a story or a good time. I just want to be known for my work and what I bring to the team and how I can affect winners.
Now, I totally understand where he's coming from, and let me tell you one thing. So if this guy is able to demonstrate what he does in the regular season as he is in training camp, there is no doubt in my mind that this guy is just not going to be a feel-good story anymore. He's going to be an absolute threat when it comes to the overall pass rush. I mean, now once we put this guy into the mix, who knows what's going to happen to some of the other defensive ends that are going to be moved to his side, but it seems like that this guy is really making a play of making this roster. And based off of reports right now, if I was a gambling man, this guy is going to make the 53. Dom Mafia, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. Like I said, next video, you are at least going to see some Bill stuff over here. It is going to be the new Dom Mafia studio, baby. So whatever you do, smash the out of that like button if you haven't already. And before I let you go, always remember, let's go Buffalo.